Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My guest here today is Jeremy Cooper, who is a CMO at Pinnacle Career Institute. Jeremy, thank you for being here today.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, tell everyone watching a little bit more about PCI and what you guys are all about and who you help.
Yeah, Pinnacle Career Institute has been around since 1953 for over 70 years. We started as a school in the Kansas City area called Electronics Institute. So our roots started kind of in a trades area. Then we did branch out for many years into allied health, but recently we've gone back to focusing solely on our roots, which is trades. And so our programs are wind turbine technician, technician, and HVAC technician. We also have an associate's degree for our wind program. We have been teaching wind since 2010. We started that program in 2009, had our first graduates in 2010. Teaching tower technician since in 16 and HVAC since 2008. So we've been in these fields all for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that makes us really, really unique is how we deliver our programs. We deliver in a hybrid format where all of our students take the majority of their program online, through learning management software. But then part of their tuition flies them into Kansas City at the end of their program. So in their last class, we fly them into Kansas City, we put them up, and they spend 10 days here on site getting very intensive boot camp that really puts all that hand on. So they've got tons of theory at that point. So it's the icing on the cake where they get that hands-on experience. They leave here with all their certifications, and then they work with career services and go out and find a great job.
That's really, really awesome. I really like that, especially now since COVID, where everything has been just online. It's nice to see that aspect of in person. Hey, there's so much value in being in presence of each other and really having the learning happen that way. So thank you for sharing that. And tell me a little bit more about kind of your journey. We were speaking a little bit before, and you mentioned that you've kind of been all over the place. There's many things that you've done in the past. Tell me a little bit more about you and how you managed to find yourself in the position that you are right now.
I started in the industry a little over 20 years ago with DeVry University, worked admissions with them for a few years, moved my family to Memphis, Tennessee, was the director over what they call DeVry University Center in Memphis for about a year. And then came back to Kansas City, went to DeVry for a little while. And then in 2008, Jeff Friedman, who is the owner of Pinnacle Career, hired me as the executive director of his Lawrence, Kansas campus. Ran that campus for about 5 years, moved to the corporate office for about a year, and then left PCI and went to the marketing company that was our marketing partner. At that time, it was called Platform Advertising. It is now Throughline Advertising. But at that point, 2012, 13, they were the largest advertising agency in the sector that focused on proprietary schools specifically, trades, allied health, those kind of things, trucking, beauty schools, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And worked with them for 8 years as executive director over their call center, managed a staff of a couple hundred people there. Then did a bunch of research and development into trying to find, because one of my passions is trying to figure out how to close the gap between where employers need staff and where the consumer understands where those needs are.
How so?
Did a ton of research on that and try to figure out where the demand pressure for staffing is high enough that employers will actually pay to train that staff, which I truly believe is the future of education. It really, where employers. So I did some stuff when we looking and trying to find places, and we found a company in Indiana that we purchased that was doing a CNA program, just that, where they found the people and then brought them in. The companies interviewed them, accepted them, hired them, paid for their training, and then that person went and worked for that long-term care facility for a set amount of time. Ran that with locations in Indiana and Florida for them for several years. And then, believe it or not, COVID and CNA programs didn't go very well together. So when COVID hit in 2020, it basically shut down all the Indiana operations, put the Florida locations on life support, and so I had the opportunity at that point to come back to work for the school,
Mm,
and came back and joined the school at that point, 2021.
interesting.
I've
And for someone, sorry to
yeah,
quickly go ahead, finish your thought,
I've
please.
been here ever since. And so since I got back, I've done a couple of different things. I came back and I actually was over academics for a little while. Then I was campus president for a little while. And then Jeff moved me out here to the corporate office where he can have me kind of out here working directly with him. I do a ton of different things. I'm actually the chief information and marketing officer. So
Mm,
I do a lot of the data and reporting for the organization and as well as manage the market.
interesting. And for a company that has been around for almost 7 decades, I w- I have noticed a pattern from these older companies that a lot of the leaders and the executives that used to be kind of taking charge for the majority of the time, they had such a great network and they were surrounded by people who had great relationships, and that allowed the word of mouth and referrals to kind of just be a smooth aspect that allowed the business to grow really well. But for some companies that I've spoken with, they mentioned that now that dynamic is kind of shifting because those executives and those taking charge are kind of just like retiring, moving away, and now the new people don't have those same connections. They don't have that same network. So the word of mouth, the referrals, and that side of growing a business is a little bit more challenging. How has that impacted PCI, and has that been a challenge for you guys as well?
I mean, actually, yeah. I mean, that's it. That's something I haven't thought about really directly, but it has been right where
Mm,
I mean, even in my own circle of influence, retiring and well as moving out of the higher education space, a lot of the people that I started in the industry with are no longer in the industry, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, so it's been something that we've dealt with as we bring in new talent. Part of that challenge is always trying to train that new talent
mm,
to network and to bring more connections, and that's something I think we try to do.
mm-hmm.
Um, and but there's always area for improvement for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And what's the majority of what's the majority of this new talent coming in? What's their focus on trying to acquire more customers and more clientele for the business? Is it just focusing on building these relationships that we used to have and here's how you do them, or is it just focusing more on the new methodologies of marketing with the digital space that and the internet that we have now?
It really depends on where their focus is, because we do have we do have a couple different focuses of the organization. The primary focus of the organization is our traditional students that come through our accredited program through NC ACCSC and use Title IV funding typically to pay for their education. And the focus of those individuals, it really hasn't changed a lot. It's really and truly, we're trying to find those people that we can, they're networking on a person to person basis, trying to find individuals that our education can benefit them quickly, because our programs are all short term, and
Mm-hmm.
get them out there working in their field of choice, right? So,
Mm,
so their 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 circle of influence really hasn't changed. We're doing standard marketing in a couple different channels to drive information out to consumers and bring leads into us that are already interested. They're making those phone calls.
mm-hmm,
However, on the B2B side of things, where we focus on predominantly training global wind organization safety trainings to the wind industry,
mm,
that's a little different because we are looking at more of a business to business kind of networking, and there's more there that in terms of training individuals, getting them to make those connections, understanding how to grow their network, different tools out there to use like LinkedIn, which I believe is where you connected with me, and
yeah.
and 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 just resources and using our graduates from our traditional program to build connections,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things.
Yeah, and it's interesting now that there are so many avenues and so many different channels to build these relationships, build these connections, and just get to know more people. Obviously, create some working relationships as well. But it seems like now there's like a never ending opportunity of where you can have these relationships begin, which is pretty awesome in a way.
It really is.
And go ahead.
The world has, I mean, I think technology has kind of opened things up where it used to be to create a relationship with someone at some point in time, you had to share a room with, right?
Yeah,
And,
get a
you know,
coffee, lunch.
and yeah, right. Now, I mean, you could have face-to-face conversations like we are right now and not even be in the same state or country for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's fortunate times we're living in. Fortunate
Yeah, it
times.
really is.
And talk to me a little bit more about what the goals of a 7 decade organization are. What do those goals look like? What are you guys trying to achieve now? What are some of the focuses that you guys have as a business?
Our focus is simple. It's student first, period, right? Like
Mhm.
whether it's our traditional students or one of our trainees coming through the GRBO program, we are student centered in everything we do. If it is good and right for the student, then it will be great for the organization. And that mindset is just how we operate
Hmm.
across the board. In terms of, ensuring that we, you know, make sure that's part of the culture. It really just is part of the it's the conversation we have internally every single day as an organization is, you know, is this good for the student? Is this, is it in the best interest of the student?
Mm,
Is this in the best interest of the education they're going to get? And if not, then why should we do it?
mm,
And it doesn't make sense,
I
right?
see.
And that really is, our primary focus.
And what would you say are the main or the most common mistakes that some of your students or possible students make that keeps them from achieving the outcome that they want, which is having the certification and obviously pursuing a career in whatever path they choose?
You know, honestly, I mean, that's letting life get in the way. I mean,
Mm,
you know, when, our students are coming in, our average students is probably in their late 20s, early 30s,
okay.
because of the nature of our programs that are predominantly male. And there's a lot of noise in day-to-day living there. These people have, they're trying to work a full-time job in many cases while they're in school. They have families, they have bills to pay,
Hmm.
they're, and it's letting that external noise get in the way of their long-term goals,
Mm,
what they originally started this program for. Because understand, like everybody we work with, they came to us. We don't call people that haven't reached out directly. And we only talk to people that have come to us and raised their hand in some way and said, "Hey, I
hmm,
want to know more about what you have to offer."
hmm,
And then, you know, and then even of those people that raise their hand, maybe 2% ever come to school, right?
mm,
So, we're only working with people that truly want to do this, that have been provided the opportunity to do so. But I think that's really it, is that they lose sight of why they started this in the first place. They let the noise of life get in the way and
hmm,
they stop coming. And that is a worst case scenario for a student because, our goal is always to put that person in a better place than they came to us. When
mm,
they don't get the certificate, when they don't complete the program, then they probably don't have enough information to go out and get a job in that field yet. And now they owe money. The
mhm.
Department of Education, they may owe us. They're in a worse position than they were when they came to us. And that is something we never wanted to do.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that there are a few kind of standard marketing channels that you guys are using, but from the sounds of what you just said, it seems as though you guys are only really focusing, or the majority, maybe 90+% of everybody that you do have go through the program, they're all inbound. So there are people that, like you said, raise their hands.
Yeah.
Is it correct when I'm saying that it sounds like you guys don't really have the outbound side of the business? And if it is, why have you chosen it? Why have you chosen to operate that way?
No, you were 100% correct. It is all inbound. Um, and mainly because it's, in what we do, it's the actual only effective way to operate, right? Um,
Hmm.
you've got to, education is one of those things where, uh, unless somebody has already kind of thought about it, I mean, it's a really, really difficult lift to get somebody in from a conversation of, you know, I've never even thought about going to school to, hey, let's go to school. Let's do
Hmm.
this. It's a really, really hard lift. So
Hmm.
you gotta, that person is also already had to have to make some intrinsic decision
Yeah.
of this is what I want to do. And then if once they've done that, we can help them understand the why and
Hmm.
the what. And, and if we're a good fit for them, excuse me, if we're a good fit for them, get them in school with us. If not, get them in the right direction, or maybe they could go do
Hmm.
something that's a better fit for them.
Yeah, to help them make a good decision for them. If it's with you, if it's without you, whatever that may
Exactly
be.
right.
Yeah. And are they usually coming from just finding your website? Is it ads? Is it SEO? What's kind of that main methodology that you guys use to get people to
We
find out about
do a three-prong approach where we're focused, across multiple social media outlets.
you? Hmm.
And we do both paid social and organic social.
Mm.
Then we focus on PPC, pay per click.
Yeah, of course.
Where we're predominantly on Google, but we've also done some Bing and some Yahoo. But Google's where Google kind of owns that space. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. And then we have just general organic SEO.
Hmm.
Driving to the website that we're doing through multiple different avenues as well.
Awesome. And I see a couple books there behind you, and this is a question that I've asked someone that's led to a very great conversation. Is there any specific book, maybe one or two books that you've read that has impacted the way that you see being part of growing a company and driving real impact in a company that you truly care about the mission of?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of two right off. Good to Great, and then Power of Habit.
Why those two?
Good to Great because I really liked the message and the concept of what makes a company great is the people. It's making sure that the people you don't just have the right people on the bus, but you have everybody on the right seat in the bus, and then everybody's pushing in the same direction. And
Hmm.
and then the also the concept of figuring what is it that you as an organization could be the very, very best at and
Hmm.
focusing on being the best at that thing. That's one of the reasons why we chose to stop where we were doing a ton of stuff in allied health and then stuff in trades. One of the reasons that we kind of took the path of let's focus on trade because we truly believe in our model with boot camps that we could be the very best at doing it now.
Hmm.
And then the power of habit, just because it truly is extremely interesting when you understand the mindset and how habits are formed,
Hmm.
how you can use that information to manage people, to lead people, and to lead your own life as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think thank you for sharing those. I've read Atomic Habits. You can maybe able to kind of get a glimpse of one of them here. I can't see exactly where it is. Looks like it's over this one, but I haven't had read the Power of Habits, but I've noted that down. And you said the words putting the right people on the bus, but make sure that they're on the right seats of that bus. How do you think about hiring in the business, and what are some of the things that maybe the traits that you look for when you're looking to hire the right person and put them in the right seat?
And, first and foremost, is this somebody that we believe is going to fit in the culture? And that culture is this somebody that's coming into higher education because they want to support students and help students because that's what we do. And I can tell you that if like I've watched a lot of people come into the industry and go, if you don't have that passion around helping people grow. It's a lot. This business is a lot of work. It's a lot of hours, and there are other things you can do that even pay better, right? And so you know, it's got to be where part of what there are different types of compensation. One is monetary, the other is emotional, right?
Hmm.
So I'm always looking for somebody I believe has that has that even if they have never worked in education, they have the potential to have that passion.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is just, the typical things that you look for when you hire someone. What's their work history? What's their skill set? Can they do the job? Will they like doing the job? Because
Hmm.
just because they can do the job don't mean they'll enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it, they won't stay.
I see. Do you think that in the process of getting someone in the right seat and obviously making sure that they are the right candidates, how have you worked around developing not particularly a strategy, but maybe a framework that makes sure that when you do bring someone on, they are for sure the right person and they don't turn out to be the wrong candidate. And the reason why I bring this up is because I have talked to many other obviously business owners and other people as well that are hiring and doing all sorts of things to find the right people. And I've come across the statistic that about 50% of new hires don't work out. So go through the recruiting, the training, or sorry, the interviews, and then the training and everything that goes alongside of it. And then 3 to 6 months later, they're gone, and we have to do it all over again. So how do you manage to overcome that possibility that they could be the wrong person?
When you hire, and I will caveat all this with, currently here at PCI, because of the role I'm in,
Yeah.
I don't have to do a ton of hiring.
Which is yeah,
Uh,
off your plate.
and that, and that's okay with me.
Yeah.
When I was at the call center, we had a staff of over 250 agents on the floor, and we were hiring up to, at one point, 40, two classes a month of 40 individuals a month, just to grow the population. you
Mm,
know and we had a very rigorous process that we put people through, to come on board. And even with that, turnover, we got the turnover way better, but it was still call center is just high. I mean, those positions are just high.
mhm,
But it really is trying to figure out the best process, and that process is individualized. There's not a one size fits all way
mm,
to do that. Uh, it- you know, each role that you're trying to fill has its own nuances of what's going to be a good fit, and you have to understand that. Talk to the people that have done the job. Talk
mm.
to the people that have done the job well,
Yeah.
right? What, get them involved in the interview process. I used to, get some of my better, employees, get them at a certain point where they talk to the person and I got their feedback. Even though they weren't a higher decision maker, getting their feedback, was like, you know, because, the funny thing is that somebody at interview will say things to somebody they perceive as going to be a colleague that they will not say to someone they believe is going to be a supervisor.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's little things like that that you can do that will make a difference. But at the end of the day, I wish there was a silver bullet. But the reality is that
Yeah.
every single position, you have to have a process that's unique to that position,
Mhm.
and understand what's going to make that position successful.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad you explained it the way that you did because it's great to have frameworks. It's great to hey, here's kind of how it should be done, but there's always going to be nuances that we can't account for. So it's awesome to see your perspective there as well. And just a couple questions here to finish off, Jeremy. Let's say you had a magic wand and you could wave this wand and it could solve just one thing within your business that would make hitting your goals or getting to where you want to get to a lot easier. What would that one thing be that you'd solve?
Goodness, a magic wand that can solve one thing, huh?
Just one.
Let me think. I mean, there's one thing I can think of, but it's not something that it would be too difficult to explain the whole nuances behind it.
Sure.
Kind of one of those behind the scene things.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of one that would be, more, better for this overall
Yeah,
conversation.
and just a preface to it. I've asked that question to someone, and they were like, "Oh, I would just get all the funding or all the whatever," and I was like, "Great, me too." But like, let's um, maybe something that you control, maybe something that's a part of the business that if you're able to take the right actions or solve a particular issue in a specific area, then that would unlock massive growth or massive opportunity where you want it to.
I mean, like again, this isn't something that going to something that we can control. I mean, the ideal thing would be to be able to, help students from the get go, see the value of what they're going to accomplish, and get them to be able to magic wand and let every student kind of see the end result of their efforts.
Mm,
Because, like, education is what's the word I'm looking for? It's not tangible, right? Like when you're
Mm.
done with education, you can't touch it, you can't smell it. You could put it on the wall,
Yeah.
right? But there's not a lot until you can put it on the wall that you can even see or feel, right?
Mm.
And it really is the opportunity that it opens for you after you have it. And it would be to wave that magic wand so that everyone we work with already understood that,
Mm.
so that then that they would get out of their own way so that we can help them where they need to be. And again, whether that's with us or somewhere else, I
Yeah.
just want to see every single person that can build value in their life from education, get the right education for them to build that.
Yeah. That's really, really awesome. And would it I really love your explanation there, especially where like you can't really you can put it on the wall, which is so so true, right? But where it comes, would you say that that whole idea that you just shared with me, and not it won't be doing it justice, but don't it won't be doing it justice, but maybe just having the students or the possible students see the ROI that they will get from
Exactly. Yeah,
pursuing these opportunities. Is that correct?
that's it.
I would say that that's something that there's definitely things that you could help them with, and I wouldn't put that as something that you have no control over, because as you said, there's so many things that you can do to kind of show them the path, and they will never know for sure, but they can get better ideas and all these things.
I mean,
So
we do all those things, but man, some of that is just true core. What we can't control is stuff like the naysayers in their lives, right?
yeah,
Like
for sure,
we
exactly.
can't
Yeah.
we can't control we can't control, what's going on in their day to day.
Hmm. Or
The
the bill they
balance
pay.
always trying to play is to keep that vision of where they're trying to go up stronger and louder than all this other stuff,
Hmm.
and trying to keep those skills where they keep on that goal.
For sure, for sure. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And last one here for you, Jeremy. I stole a section very humbly from Stephen Bartlett, which is the host of the Diary of a CEO podcast. He does a section where he grabs a question from the previous participant to the next participant, but they don't know what the question is or who will the next participant be. And the question that I have here, which I will be asking you now, is what are some unique places you look for A plus talent, or you're looking for A plus talent? And I know that right now you may not be the one hiring, but for the ones that are
I
doing
mean,
some
like,
hiring.
today, in terms of where you go for talent, I mean, that has ebbed and flowed, but, Indeed is kind of the major player of that right now. We
Hmm.
obviously do a combination of Indeed and then LinkedIn,
Hmm.
but, those are really the places that we're
Hmm.
putting out. If we have job openings, that's where they're going to be. And then the other place is internal. Like there's, the first place we're always going to look for any position is, do we have somebody internally that we can grow with the organization in this role and put them in a better place, because that's going to make us stronger, right? That's
Hmm.
the first thing we do. Second, if we don't have anybody internally, do somebody we know that we already know is a great employee, know somebody that we can bring in and
Yeah.
make it part of our family here. And then if that doesn't work, the last step is we're going to go to LinkedIn and Indeed.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so interesting because we often overlook the people that are closer or closest to us. Or we're like, yeah, they're great. They definitely don't know anyone else that's great. Let's go somewhere else. It's like, what? Like they're right there.
Those are always going to, first, do we have anybody internally? Then does anybody internally know anybody? Then we'll go to, and Indeed is the primary place that we're going.
Sure.
LinkedIn is second.
Yeah, fair. Well, Jeremy, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your insights. It's been an awesome conversation. Where should people go if they want to find out a little bit more about what you do and about what PCI is all about?
Oh, they go to www.pcitraining.edu.
Awesome, Jeremy. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.